Hello. I'm very annoyed. This is take like 7 at this point. I've lost track of the amount of takes I've had to do. If you didn't know, I'm very disorganized when it comes to making YouTube videos, and I always go off on things that have nothing to do with the subject. Before I realize it, I've lost complete control of the video. Hopefully now I have my together and I'm able to go ahead and do this bookshelf tour. Before I get to the bookshelf tour, I do have just a few channel updates or announcements or whatever you want to call them. The first thing is you've noticed the beanie. Ignore it. If you've seen my other videos, you know my hair is insane. It's there for your protection, I promise you. The other thing is weight loss journey. I have not lost any weight, if I'm being 100% honest, even though I have been going to the gym and I have been... Okay. Let me put this on silent, like not even vibrating, because I've been doing this for so long now that I'm like, what the now everybody decides to text me and send me messages. Okay, if we're being 100% honest with the weight loss, I haven't lost any weight. I have been going to the gym, but the eating is not there. The eating has been garbaggio. And no, I have not been eating fast food, so it's not that. I've just been eating a lot of food at home, and I need to get that under control. So if you see me in a moody mood, if you see me in a bad mood, just know it's because of that. Because I'm going to be at a calorie deficit and my body's not going to be used to it for a while. So I'm just going to be in a very sour mood. Hearing my voice crack annoyed me. As it is, though, I'm already kind of holding on by a thread just because of so many things that have been happening just in the last like 40 minutes. So... I just got very like, what? It's too many things. And the thing is, all of these things could have been preventable if I was just a little bit more organized and diagnosed. I don't know, I think, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll do this. Anyway, so yeah, that's where I am with the weight loss. I have not lost any weight. I haven't gained any weight though. I think I lost like 2 pounds, but like 2 pounds in like 2 months? No, sir. I need to be losing way more. Finally, I do want to mention that even though this is like take number 7 for this particular video, I've actually already recorded this video previously yesterday. There was multiple issues with that video. First biggest issue is that I lost the footage. I found it just now, but either way, I'm not going to use that footage. Why? I'm not going to lie, you guys. It does look pretty bad. It's very dark. I recorded it with this camera, and if you know from my previous videos, you know this camera is not very good in low light. So I decided to instead take photos so that it looks good. I'm sorry I tapped on the phone. I just realized I'm using it as a microphone, and any little tap like that will sound loud, probably. The other reason I want to re-record the video, even though again I found the footage, I could just brighten it up or whatever, I still want to re-record it because I've only lost 2 pounds in the last 2 months and my breathing is heavy. Let's just leave it at that. So I'm not like and this is my favorite book, you know, I'm not like that, but at the same time I don't want to trigger any asthma attacks in the audience. All right, so let's start with my bookshelves.
Wow.
Here's the one that's nearest to the door. And then here's the one that is nearest to my closet. Are you guys having fun yet? All right, let's start with the one that's closest to the door. I do have some decorations on top if you haven't noticed, starting with the very, very, very top part, not even considered part of the bookshelf. Here we have my Mickey plush that I bought in Disney World for the 50th anniversary. I also have my Walt Disney and Mickey hat, which for my big ass head, that hat fits perfectly. It was very expensive. Next, we have my Raising Cane's Snoopy and Woodstock plushies that I got from when I used to work at Raising Cane's. And then I have my 25th anniversary Raising Cane's medal thing. It was like for Mardi Gras or something. I can't quite remember. We have my Disney Magic Band, which I will be using for when I go back to Disney World next year, which I'm already planning. We have the little booklet from the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. The last thing over here is my Mario band from when I went to Universal Studios Japan. I hope, I haven't really looked into it. Would that one work for the reason I'm going to Orlando again next year is because Epic Universe is opening, and that's going to be a very expensive trip. Real quick on a side note, I went to Japan for 2 weeks. I'm only going to go to Orlando for 1 week. So it's a domestic flight. I don't have to get the passport. We don't have to use multiple Airbnbs. We don't have to get a bullet train. We don't have to do any of that. Already, it's looking to be a much more expensive trip than my trip to Japan was. What the Disney? Like, seriously, what the And like, you're getting rid of the dinosaur ride.
I want my niece and nephews to experience that ride. It's a dope ride. You're getting rid of it. You're getting rid of Dinoland USA, which, by the way, last time we were there, it was like already under repairs. And it was like all blocked off. This was back in 2021, and now everybody's like, oh, they just blocked it off. It's like, no, it's been blocked. At least when I went. I don't know.
The other thing that I normally have hanging on there is my lanyard, which I'm very proud of, which is actually why I brought it with me. Oh, Jesus Christ, you're loud. This is the 50th anniversary lanyard that they had. This is me 100% bragging and showing off, by the way. Like, I'm just very proud of this. I've never been a pin guy, but this last time I went, we did a lot of pin trading and stuff, and I loved all my pins. So I have a 50th anniversary pin. I don't remember if it came with the lanyard, but whatever. And then I have this Pooh Bear one. We have an Epcot one with Figment. Epcot again for the Mexican Pavilion. And then we have this old-timey Steamboat Willie one. We have the Mickey and Minnie ones, which, by the way, whenever you buy pins, you can sometimes either buy specific pins for a much, they're a little bit pricier, or you can buy these like mystery ones. And I ended up getting two mystery ones, and I got very lucky. I got both Mickey and Minnie, which I thought were very cute. My brother gave me this little taco. I believe he got it in the Mexican Pavilion. An Epcot at least. And then I have this old Mickey Mouse, which a cast member told me was from like 2004 or something. I have the Stormtrooper ones that my brother gave me, this Pluto one with the glasses, which I think is so cute. The Mayan, it was the Aztec treasure from the Pirates ride. And then I have this Dalmatian one, which I tried to get rid of with one of the pin collectors. None of them wanted it. Also, you know what? I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I've become attached to this ugly little Dalmatian pin. So, whatever. I kept it. And then we have the lanyard, which I loved this aesthetic. I think it's such a cute little aesthetic, like the 50th and all that stuff. And then we have obviously the Walt Disney World 50 anniversary logo there. I'm very proud of this, and I will definitely do more pin trading this year. I will be buying a new lanyard because this one's staying home. I'm not taking this one, but I will be buying a new lanyard, and I will be filling that one up. If I don't show you a new lanyard after my trip, it's probably because I couldn't afford one at this point. That was just me. Some subtle brag, not really subtle. Bookshelf tour. Right. So for this first bookshelf, we have as decorations an Enderman with a bow tie, which I think is the cutest thing ever. I do use that bow tie sometimes. And then we have a gum gum fruit that I got from Japan from one of those claw machines. It does light up. I should have taken a photo of it lit up, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. If I take a picture, I'll put it up. On this shelf, starting from left to right, we have the Encyclopedia of Magical Creatures. The Element Encyclopedia, if I remember correctly, of Magical Creatures is basically just an encyclopedia of all the magical creatures from myths around the world, which I think is very interesting. We have The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller right next to it. Those are the only paperback books that you will find on this entire bookshelf tour. Not a fan of paperback. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the way it creases. I don't like the way it starts bending. I don't like anything about paperback. The Song of Achilles does not have a hardcover copy of it. I even emailed the publisher and they told me no. So, whatever. Next, we have the first book by Miss Angie Sage, which is the Septimus Heap series called Magic. This is book 1. Now, I will mention some of these books that I have. For example, this first book of Magic, this was a book that I read at the library, and I was a huge, huge fan as a kid. I'd never finished the series. So, a lot of books that I would read as a kid from the library, I'm now buying as an adult. So I'm trying to get the full Septimus Heap series. Next, we have 2 books by I forgot the name of the first name of the author. It is her 13 Witches series. This is for a younger audience, preteens. It's not really for me. I gotta say, the design for the witches, even though obviously it's a novel, the way that they're described is so awesome. They look, or again, in my mind, they look just phenomenal. So good job with that. I think the witch part of it is very creative. I started reading the second book, which delves into a weird time travel thing. I still don't know how I feel about that. I have not finished the second book. I've been busy with other things, but yeah, sure, I'll buy the third book and read it. It's a charming series so far. I have nothing really too much against it, but I'm not exactly gonna tell you to run. Next, we have 3 Dark Crowns. Okay, I really should have prefaced this at the beginning, because now I feel like one of those teachers where, you know how when you're taking a test and then your teacher looks at your test and she's like staring at it and she does like one of these. She immediately looks up and goes, "Class, please make sure to read the questions carefully." And you're like, well, shit, I did not read the question carefully. I feel like by putting this disclaimer here, I'm doing the same thing to Miss Blake. I should have prefaced this. Again, this should have been at the very beginning, but I do want to mention, I don't have absolutely anything against any author. If I do, they're not going to be on my bookshelf, I promise you. As far as every author that I have here, I want to say that if I say something mean about a book or if I criticize the book, just know that I'm writing a book right now. I am in the process of writing a book, and it is one of the most difficult things ever. I never wanted to take the value away from the time and blood, sweat, and tears that an author puts into their work. I never want to take that away from an author. Probably one of the hardest things that I've done. Anytime I criticize a book, it is not an attack or anything towards the author. Maybe that author and I were just not meant to, whatever. At least we'll say it's just not for me, but I still wish every single author all the best wishes, continued success. I'm not perfect, That's also another reason why I wanted to do a bookshelf tour, is because I recently did that awful review of Shadow of the Wind, and I feel like you guys don't have enough of a benchmark to see what exactly I like and what I don't like. So if I really, really loved that book, my taste might be different than yours. And so that's why I kind of want to do little reviews for all the books that I've read and let you know my thoughts. That way you can kind of get an idea of where I am in terms of books and what I like. But yeah, 3 Dark Crowns, I started reading it and I hated it. I'm sorry. Saying all of that, I'm so sorry. Again, listen, we were already almost 100 pages in and nothing had happened. This is why I'm starting to veer away from YA. They have that horrible, horrible, horrible habit of padding out the book with "she stared out into the sunset and thought about the waves," and it's a lot of pretty prose, but it's nothing of value. It's the character isn't coming to any kind of conclusion. It's a lot of very continuous and long and boring silent moments, which is fine. I don't mind a good silent moment. I don't mind a slow burn book, but at least have things happening, With this one, if you know the premise of the story, it's about 3 sisters. We had already gotten around to the 3rd sister. And at this point, I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't care about what was happening in the world. The world building was not making any sense to me. I'm sure it was going to make more sense the more I read, but it just felt like exposition, exposition, exposition. First sister, exposition. Second sister, exposition. Third sister. It was just getting more and more exposition. I was being told and not shown. As an aspiring author, congratulations, you've made it. I want to be there at some point where some fat nerd is criticizing my book on the internet. And then next we have the Darkest Minds trilogy by Alexandra Bracken. I believe this was her debut series, and it is phenomenal. I loved every second of it. The first time that I read The Darkest Minds, this is one of those books where it's like, oh my God, get to the point. It's just very depressing for no reason. Reading The Darkest Minds, which is the first book in the trilogy, was very much like, but by the end, you care about the characters. Now you're probably wondering, well, why did you give The Darkest Minds an opportunity but not Three Dark Crowns? If I remember correctly, by the time things were happening in The Darkest Minds, Three Dark Crowns is barely getting to like the second sister. For me personally, I loved this trilogy. All three books made me cry. They were written very well. Don't watch the movie. It felt like a weird Percy Jackson thing. And you're going to find that I make a lot of comparisons to Percy Jackson just because I'm a big Percy Jackson fan. In order to fit the mood of the books, it needed to be less Percy Jackson and more Schindler's List. It's a full-on Holocaust going on in the story with psychics. It's not meant to be colorful and everybody's supposed to be clean. Homegirl was starved by the beginning of the first book. She didn't look starved in the movie. So, keep that in mind. I'm going to sound like such a hypocrite. And I'll point that out myself when I get to it. Next, we have The Darkest Legacy, which is a book that Miss Bracken came out with way after the Darkest Minds trilogy ended. I got the book and I didn't read it for a while. And then one day I was like, you know what? F it, let's read it. Let's see what this is all about. And it was really, really good. I was shocked. It was a little bit more violent than even the Darkest Minds trilogy. So appropriate titling on that. My only gripe with this book is the fact that the ending felt like it not only felt like a weird cliffhanger, but it was just strangely rushed. In like a page or two, somebody gets broken out of like an insane asylum or whatever, and then the story ends. It just ends. There's no what? So I didn't love the ending. It did feel very rushed, but overall, I would still recommend a read on that book. I thought it was pretty good. Next, we have Adulterio by Paulo Coelho. I've never read a Paulo Coelho novel. This is actually my mom's book. She just asked me to put it on my bookshelf, so I can't say much about it. She said it was good. She liked it. So next we have the Gregor the Overlander, which is the first novel in the Underland Chronicles by Miss Suzanne Collins. We all love Miss Suzanne Collins. This is actually a series that I finished. I was very lucky. My library actually had all the books in the series. This was the first book series that ever made me cry. The ending of the last book was just, it ripped my heart in half. It was so gut-wrenching. I remember crying all night after I finished the last book. Next, we have the Hunger Games trilogy by Miss Suzanne Collins. This is where the hypocrisy comes in, because I mentioned Homegirl from the Darkest Minds movie does not look starved, even though in the book she is. Jennifer Lawrence does not look starved either in the Hunger Games, but I really like the movies. But to be fair, the movies did stick to its much darker themes, and they did go there. Whereas I feel like the Darkest Minds one kind of chickened out a little bit. So I think maybe that's where I can kind of justify the hypocrisy a little bit. But who cares? The Squeaky Voice is such a good series, and it's such a good trilogy that needed to stay a trilogy. We're getting to that one. Again, Miss Suzanne Collins did a perfect job of making me cry my eyes out in her last book. So great job. Great job, Miss Suzanne Collins. You're an inspiration. Honestly, though, she is one of my inspirations. And then we have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is my first miss by Miss Collins. Not once when I was reading The Hunger Games or watching the movies did I think to myself, wow, this Snow guy sure is messed up. I wonder what happened. I didn't care. Snow was such a good fucking character because of the mystery. Snow was a good character because he was evil for the sake of being evil. And he had his philosophies. And that was it. I didn't need more about Snow. And then this book came out and I was hearing really good things about it. So I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. And then I found out that there was a movie being made, and I was like, okay, well, obviously now I have to read it just to see, when the movie comes out. Because I had watched all the Hunger Games when they came out in the theaters, and I even have them all on Blu-ray. I have yet to see Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and that movie came out a while ago. I read the book, and there were some really good parts. Don't get me wrong. Quick spoiler alert. It's nothing too quick. This man goes through hell and back for this girl, and then first chance he gets, he just goes Jack Torrance on her. What? That just came out of left field. Like, it'd be one thing if he kept getting beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, but he seemed happy with her. Even at the end. I mean, look at all the things he did for her and with her, and all of a sudden he's just a psycho. What? That didn't make sense to me. I'm maybe I just need to reread it and pay closer attention, but he personally seemed like a very empathetic person that all of a sudden is now poisoning people and like trying to kill this girl that like he loved. All I know is that he went from a sweet kid to a psychopath in like one paragraph. So, and nothing in the paragraph ever explained what the fuck was going on either. So I don't know. It was just kind of out of left field. Other than that, fantastic, absolutely fantastic writer. And then next we have underneath that one for decorations. This is going to be a long. Oh my god, I've been recording for so long now. I'll try to speed this up. For decorations, I have my Legend of Zelda pocket watch, which was gifted to me by my best friend Melissa. Shout out. And then I have that fairy statue, which was a gift from my grandma. I have my Luffy plushie that I got in Japan, and this Tashigi busty ass magnet, which does not work. The magnet just does not stick to anything. So I just kind of have it there. I also got it in like a little raffle thing in Japan. I don't know. I don't like the design. It's ugly. I'm sorry. It's just drawn weird. It's ugly. She's busty for no reason. Here I also have one of my best possessions is the One Piece Romance Dawn in Japanese. I bought this in Japan. One Piece has meant a lot to me. I've been watching it for close to 20 years now. So you bet your ass that it's something special. It was with me during middle school, high school. It got me through some very tough times in my life, and it's a very special and very important series to me. So I wanted to get the original Romance Dawn in the original Japanese language. I don't speak Japanese. I don't read Japanese. It's more of a symbolic thing. Whatever, who cares? Next, we have that Ozark Trail lantern. It's an electric lantern that we use for camping. And I don't know, I thought it looked good there. Okay, first book here, we have The Fault in Our Stars. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this book. Or I'm going to get a lot of hate for this particular one. I did cry when I read the book, and then I cried again when I saw the movie. And then I got over it. And then I started thinking about it more, and I was like, this book seems... Oh, this is going to sound so mean. This book seems very pretentious, and I don't mean to say that John Green is a pretentious person, considering him and his brother are both very intelligent people. It could be that I probably just outgrew the fucking thing. So, back then, I was like, oh, so sad. But now as an adult, I'm like, what? What's going on here? If you really like the book, go ahead. Again, John Green is an excellent writer, and him and his brother are very, very smart people. And I don't want to make them mad, so they're not going to see this fucking video. Next, we have the Half-Life trilogy by Miss Sally Green with Half Bad, Half Wild, and Half Lost. This is a weird trilogy because I read the first book and I thought this was so bad. The main premise of the story is what if Harry Potter was Voldemort's kid? If we're being honest, that's kind of what it's about. It was all right. The world building was awful. The writing's good, and surprisingly, even though I'm like, I did manage to care about the characters, which at the end of the day is one of the most important parts of a story. Because if you don't care about the characters, I don't care how interesting your world is. I don't care how interesting the premise or the story is. If I don't care about your characters, I don't care about the rest of it. So, that's why I kind of stuck with it. I read Half Wild, which was a vast improvement, not only on the world building, but also the characters became a lot deeper. Not like a lot, but they became deeper. And then we have Half Lost, which is the final book in the trilogy. And I have to say, that ending came out of nowhere. It was really beautiful. It was a weirdly, strangely bittersweet and beautiful ending. And I was bawling my eyes out and it made me cry. I haven't what? It was weird. I didn't cry for Song of Achilles, but I cried for Half Lost. So I don't know. I thought it was, I really liked the ending. I really enjoyed the ending. I personally think the ending is worth reading the whole trilogy. I might be hyping it up too much. Next, we have The Colossus Rises, which is the first book in the Seven Wonders series by Peter Laryngitis. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, sir. I do apologize. What I will not apologize for is the critique on this novel. Even back then, before I became like a snob, and I didn't like this book. The reason I didn't like the book was the characters were just walking quirks. There was this one kid that only spoke in movie quotes, and then there was, or something like that, or he like said random words in reverse or something like that. I can't remember. They had quirks, and that was their personality, and I hated that. I hated everything about that. I didn't pick the series up, but from what I've read in other reviews and people discussing the series online, as the books progress, the characters do kind of tone it down, and they do eventually develop a personality beyond just, oh, I like to occasionally quote movies or whatever. Again, I don't remember what it was, but I was like, okay, this is stupid. I remember rolling my eyes reading that. So yeah, I'll definitely give it another shot. Next, we have A Magic Steeped in Poison. Look at that fucking book cover. Look at that book cover. That's the only reason I bought that book. Miss Lynn, you better be thankful to whoever did that, because that is one of the most stunning book covers that I've ever seen in my entire life. The premise is also very interesting. I'm very scared because the reviews are mixed, but whatever. I'll give my review whenever I get around to reading it. I believe the second book is already out, and that one also has a gorgeous cover. Yeah. I have no opinion on it because I've not read it. Next, we have The Underland Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This series is near and dear to my heart. I read it a long time ago when they were coming out, and at first I thought it was kind of a stupid premise because it was like Cinderella, but if she was like an android or whatever. And I was like, sure, I'll buy it. It's really good. It's a really good series. I've not finished it, so I have not gotten around to reading Winter because I think Winter came out in 2014, if memory serves me. At that point, I had already started a job and I got busy with other things, so that's when my reading really went downhill. But with these particular novels, Marissa Meyer is so good at writing it because they all have like a plot twist at the end, and she gives you the necessary tools for the plot twists. So for me, I always knew what the plot twist was going to be because, again, she leaves the clues here and there for them. So I'm like, oh, okay, so this is the real character's name or whatever. But the reveal is always caught me off guard. So I was, even though I already knew what the plot twist is going to be, I was still caught off guard. And, that's talent right there. So I would definitely recommend picking this up. It's a very interesting series. And then we have George Orwell's 1984. I did start reading it, but I had to stop because I don't remember. I probably got busy with work or something. I will eventually get around to reading that and posting a review. Not me reviewing 1984 by George Orwell, as if I have the mental capabilities and intellectuality to actually pull something like that off. All right, next we have... Oh, God, this photo is atrocious. So I only have like a reference photo. So this is what I'm looking at right now. And this is what you guys are looking at. Yeah, so the difference is night and day, I hope. That looks bad. That looks really bad. Wow. Okay, so decorations. I have the Combs and Toltec train whistle, which I got at a camping trip with my best friends. And then we have that bear from Japan. My brother got me that bear in Mexico. It's actually a little bank where you just put in coins and stuff. I forgot his name. It's like Kuma something. And the only reason I know it's Kuma something is because I know Kuma is bear in Japanese. So that's the only reason I know this. I'm sorry. I've not put any coins or anything in there. So the first series in this shelf is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Um, this series is weird because if you look on Goodreads, if you look on any page that reviews books, really, you'll probably more than likely find that the first novel is probably going to be the lowest rated one of them all. I haven't checked up on that, so you can fact check me on that. I kind of agree. Not because the first book is bad. It's not bad at all. It's just that when you look at that cover and then you look at the premise and then you look like you kind of flip between the pages, you kind of see like all these creepy images and like this weird drawing, and it's like, oh my god, this is gonna be dope. It's gonna be scary, it's creepy, it's giving off like gothic horror vibes. It's gonna be like a mystery novel. Maybe it's gonna, I was expecting it to be violent and gruesome and maybe a little gory. What we ended up getting was Percy Jackson in the past. The beginning of the novel is so good because it is building up to be a dark, weird, mysterious gothic horror thing. I was very excited when I started reading it, and then we go to the past and then we find the kids with the superpowers, and then it's like, what the fuck? It did catch me off guard that it was more of like, it was definitely a YA emphasis on the Y. I did buy all the books in the series. I have not finished the series. I think the last book I read was A Map of Days, but I do want to draw attention to Hollow City because even though Miss Peregrine's was a little slow and it did kind of drag on in some places, and it was not what I was expecting or wanting, Hollow City, going in with the mindset of, okay, this is not going to be a gothic horror thing, going into that mindset into Hollow City is my favorite one. That one was so much fun to read. So many things were happening left and right. It was just a barrage. The characters were just getting, loss after loss after loss. Next, we have the Percy Jackson series, which is very near and dear to my heart. I started reading this series back in 2006. So a while ago, almost 20 years as well. I've been with Percy Jackson longer than I've been with One Piece. The thing that I've been the longest with, though, is Harry Potter. So that's kind of my thing. I love all three, though. And honestly, Percy Jackson, super good YA novels. Eventually, and this is not something that I noticed as a kid reading them, but as an adult, I'm reading The Trials of Apollo, and I'm like, all of these characters are starting to sound the same. They're kind of having the same, they all kind of think the same. They have different personalities. I don't know how the fuck Rick Riordan pulls it off where they all sound the same, but they all have different, very distinctive personalities. So good job. That is talent right there. But yeah, fantastic series. I don't have Sea of Monsters because I lent it to my best friend. She's still reading it, I guess, even though I lent it to her over 5 years ago, and it's the shortest book in the series. So what the fuck? I'm thinking of just buying another copy and just keep that one, but you're not borrowing another book. The Battle of the Labyrinth was the first novel I ever bought on purpose. So yeah, when that book came out, I was very excited. And then we get to this next shelf. On the shelf, we have KK Slider from Animal Crossing. I'm a huge Animal Crossing fan. I have not played it in a while. It's been very limiting. There's a lot of things about New Horizons that irk me, so whatever. I have that plushie. I believe I got it at Walmart. I might have gotten it at FYE. I don't remember. Who cares? And then we have the King Chronicle trilogy. Ooh, I did not like this trilogy. Sorry. If you really like this trilogy, good on you, but I did not. I read it and I was like, the fuck is this? I didn't like any of it. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the mythology. I didn't like any of it. Personally, I wouldn't rank it high on Riordan's things. Is it Riordan or Riordan? Because I've heard both and I'm like, I don't think he's ever introduced himself. I've tried to look up interviews, and I think they say it both ways, and he never corrects them. So let's just call him Rick. I believe the fandom calls him Uncle Rick, which is weird. And so next we have the Heroes of Olympus. Fun fact about this particular series, Mark of Athena was the first book I've ever pre-ordered, and the last one, because Barnes & Noble sucks with their pre-orders. I ended up getting the book 2 weeks after it got released. So everybody and their mom had already read the Mark of Athena, and I'm just sitting there with my thumb up my ass, not being able to cancel my pre-order anymore because it got shipped. And it's like, no, it didn't get shipped. It says there it's still processing, even though I pre-ordered this shit weeks ago. So I don't know what the fuck you're processing. I think this was back in 2012. So whatever, who cares? I'm sure pre-ordering books is a lot faster and more streamlined, but I don't know. I don't want to risk it anymore, especially for books that if I'm pre-ordering, I want that shit before everybody else gets it, you know? Really good series. I was getting to that. A little bit of a hot take maybe, but I personally think these are a little bit better than I love the Percy Jackson novels. Let me get that out of the way. I absolutely love them. I would die for them. These are a little bit better just because there's a lot more characters. The stakes are a lot higher. There's more going on. It feels more rich, more lived in. It's a better series. Do you have to read the Percy Jackson novels in order to understand these? I would say no. So yes, it's a yes. You have to read the Percy Jackson novels. Next, we have the Magnus Chase trilogy. I bought the trilogy and then I read the first book. Sorry, I felt something on my knee. King Chronicle vibes already. And I'm a little scared because I read the first book and I hated it. It's not that I hated it. I just very strongly disliked it. I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I might have to reread it. At the time when I read it, I was very bitter and I was very angry, I think. So I think it's just the mindset that I was reading it in. I do want to give it another shot. I don't remember anything from that book. So it either means it was a very forgettable book or, like I said, my mind was just not in it. Next bookshelf. This one for decoration, I have more dust. Again, this is my reference photo that I have. This is the photo you guys get. Okay, so from left to right, we have the Trials of Apollo. I don't have the fourth book. I believe it's the fourth book. Yeah, I don't have the fourth book. It says right there, book 3, book 5. I'm missing the fourth book. I read the first book last year or this year. I can't quite remember. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. And now I'm reading The Dark Prophecy, which is the second book in the series. I'm enjoying it. That little girl, though, the little girl character, I forgot her name. She's kind of annoying. And I've never been a fan. Oh my God. Real quick. Can I just say this real quick? I've never been a fan, even as a kid myself. I have always hated this trope of having this little kid character or a teenage character that has a fucking attitude problem, or they're just smart about everything. And the other characters are just kind of taking it. They're just kind of taking the abuse. Shouldn't somebody put them in their fucking place? And tell them, hey, like, I get that you had a shitty childhood. That doesn't mean you have to treat me like Garbaggio, bitch. The little girl, I feel bad for her and everything. But at the same time, I'm like, let her go. Like, let her go. If she wants to be over there doing her thing, just fucking let her, honestly. I'm very much of the mindset of not begging people for things. You know, if you want to go, fucking go. I used to hate Nico in the Percy Jackson series, but I really came around to liking him a lot. And also, he was a little bit more justified in his behavior. And I believe even the characters in that book were trying to tell him, like, come on now, like, you're being unreasonable and you're being mean for no reason. Nico is one of my favorite characters. Not because he's gay, but because he just seems like one of the more complex characters. Next book we have is Skandar and the Unicorn Thief. I don't know if this is this going to be a whole series? Is there already a whole series? Didn't I just buy this book like last year? How is there already published 2023, published 2024? Oh my God, there's going to be 4 books in the series. Skandar and the Unicorn Thief, Skandar and the Phantom Rider, Skandar and the Chaos Trials, Skandar and the Skeleton Curse. That sounds dope. And they have really good ratings. Even the first one, which I thought was a little boring. To be fair, I have not finished it. I'm not even like a quarter of the way there, but it's having that YA thing. But at least that's when things are happening, people are moving, things are getting done. You're probably very confused because I just contradicted myself there a little bit because I said it's doing that YA thing. And then I said the opposite. Yeah, that's me. That's how I explain things. I don't make sense to other people. My camera looks dirty. Okay. I will for sure give Skandar. I don't know. The name Skandar is just so funny to me. Let's get this out of the way. I'm not shitting on YA, but YA has tropes that bother me. But you know what? I still enjoy them. They can still be deep and dark and gritty, and we're getting to that. Last book, actually technically a novel on this final bookshelf is House of Hollow by Katie Sutherland. I was promised horror, and I got a little bit of horror in some pages and then just nothing. It'll kill your boredom. Like, it wasn't a bad boring book. It was just okay. Yeah. All right. Solid, all right novel. Yeah, moving on to the next. I literally have nothing to say about this book. I'm sorry, Miss Sutherland. I will need to read more of your things. And then I have a bunch of cookbooks there. I have the Betty Crocker cookbook. I used to have it in this big, beautiful binder. It was gorgeous. And then you would have like different tabs. And then my best friend invited me to a white elephant party that I did not want to go to because I did not buy a gift. So I was like, I don't have money to buy a gift. I already told my friend I would go, and whatever, I'll just take this cookbook. Luckily, I was able to find this one, which is exactly the same one as the one before, but it's like weak and like, whoa. I hate it. I'm gonna look for the binder one again because the binder one was very bourgeoisie, if you will. Bourgeoisie. Is that how you pronounce it? Bourgeoisie? I don't know. I don't care. Next, we have the only YouTube book, I think. As far as I know, this is the only YouTuber book that I've bought and probably will ever buy, which is You Suck at Cooking. I've been watching Homeboy's videos for a long time. He got me through some dark times as well. Shout out to You Suck at Cooking, one of the best cooking channels out there. His open-faced breakfast sandwich was a life changer, and I ate a lot of his recipes when I was on a diet, because his recipes are surprisingly healthy and they taste pretty good. Next, we have Thug Kitchen 101 and Thug Kitchen Eat Like You Give a Fuck. These are vegan novels, so if you're not a vegan, I'm not a vegan. I got these when I was going through a health thing. I was like, I'm just going to get a bunch of cookbooks that have healthy recipes on them. And then I saw these and I was like, dope, you know, I need to eat more plant-based foods, need to cut down on my meats and stuff. I've yet to bake a single recipe from these novels. To be fair, and can I say this real quick, just for cookbooks in general, I fucking hate it when a cookbook, and these novels are a little bit, they kind of go there, where you have all of these recipes and a good majority of them have very specific ingredients that not a lot of your other recipes in the same book use. So for example, what's a vegan thing? Nutritional yeast. If there's one recipe that has nutritional yeast, you're fucked. All the other ones will not have it. Or maybe it's only like one or two more that will have it. Or if they're asking for garbanzo beans, like only a couple, like a handful of recipes will have it. It's like, can somebody please, is there a cookbook that uses the same ingredients but just applies them differently for different recipes? I know that's a stupid thing to say, but if you look at Mexican dishes, they all are pretty much the same thing. That's why there's that Mexican joke where it's like trying to explain Mexican food to other cultures is weird, because it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want chilaquiles or do you want enchiladas? And it's like, well, what's the difference? Well, chilaquiles are corn tortillas that have been fried, smothered in Colorado, so they have cheese. Sometimes you can put chicken and you can top them with fried eggs. All right, well, what are enchiladas? Enchiladas are different because these are actually fried corn tortilla chips with chile colorado. So you can put cheese, sometimes you can put chicken, and you can put fried eggs on top. So you get me? Like, but they are different. They are different because the chilaquiles you fry more until they become crispy. Why are we talking about this? Do you see why I need to make a script? Do you understand my mind? Can there be a novel? Not a novel. Can there be a cookbook? I'm in a much better mood now. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Can there be a cookbook where they use a lot of the same recipes? Please. Not recipes. Words. Please, brain. Please work with me. Please stop. Can there be a cookbook? Can there be a cookbook where the ingredients are very similar to most of the recipes in the cookbook? If there isn't one, I'll write one. Fuck. I'll figure it out. Last cookbook is Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. If you don't know anything about cooking or you're just starting out, if you're like, what the fuck am I doing? This is a very good book. It goes into detail as to the why. So if you've ever seen like chefs cooking something and they add like a sprinkle of vinegar or something for that acidity, and you're like, why the fuck are they putting vinegar? That tastes like shit. This explains how you can fix your dishes, how you can become more, how to become more independent, expanding your horizons, basically. I have yet to read it. I like to think that I know what I'm doing in the kitchen, but I feel like I can always learn more. I'm not exactly Gordon Ramsay, The last two books, I have The World of Ice and Fire, which is a textbook. It's literally a textbook by George R. R. Martin. And then we have Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes. I do not have the Greek Gods one. I'm not able to find it anywhere. Either way, I'm not looking to buy at the moment because these are literally textbooks, you guys, and they're stupid expensive. So the George one, the World of Ice and Fire alone cost me $50. Let's go to the next bookshelf. So at the very top of this bookshelf, I have one of my favorite drawings or paintings or whatever. I did not paint that. I bought it TJ Maxx. Home Goods. I don't remember where I bought it, but I love it. And bears are actually my favorite animal. Besides that, I have two more plushies from Raising Cane's from when I used to work there. One of them is the 25-year anniversary. The other one is a Charlie Brown dressed Raising Cane dog plushie. Next, we have two Funko Pops in the back. Not a Funko Pop person. These were a gift, and I don't want to get rid of them. I don't like Funko Pops. I'm sorry. I think they take up so much room and they're ugly. And like they can be cute, but like, I think they're very expensive. And for what? I'm not about to start buying Funko Pops. My best friend, he does that and he's spent so much money. He has so many of them and I don't even know where he puts them. So I think he just has them all over his house. I don't know. Anyway, moving on, we have the hard hat from Raising Cane's. I need to be careful about the image that I show just because if you've ever worked in a kitchen, things can get very offensive very quickly. So, I'm going to try and make sure that nothing too crazy is on there. So you get this after working 1 year at Raising Cane's. Again, I only wanted to work there 1 year and I ended up staying for almost 3. This fucking video is going to be so long. I hope you guys are ready. I'm a storyteller. It's getting really hot with this beanie. I'm going to check my hair real quick. My hair looks worse. How? It actually looks worse. So the beanie is staying on. All those little papers and notes are like birthday wishes from my coworkers and managers. I will say this, Raising Cane's is a very good company to work for. If you're looking for a good first job or anything like that, I would say go apply at Raising Cane's. Keep in mind though, it is very fast paced. So is my company that I'm currently working for. Please don't fire me and give me a raise. Next we have the Hogwarts alumni hat. Where did I buy that? I don't remember where I bought that. It doesn't matter. And then last but not least, I have my little hat from Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure, which is a little section of Fantasy Springs in Tokyo Disney Sea. We were actually there opening day. We somehow got very lucky. I was so focused on everything else Japan that I was like, Disney's going to be a walk in the park. Then I find that they're about to open a brand new section of the park. I was like, oh my God, we're going to be there on opening day. We somehow miraculously, we managed to go in. I think there's like 3 rides in there. We managed to get on 2 of them, which one of them was the Frozen ride, which you've probably seen videos of. It's an amazing ride, super fun. The animatronics are unreal. And then the other ride that we were able to get on was the Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure. It was all in Japanese, but it was so cute. It was so adorable and it was fun. It was really enjoyable. It was like one of those dark rides with like screens on them. You have like 3D glasses and stuff. This is the bear hat. A lot of people have like the fox hat with the little tail and the ears and stuff. A lot of people have the bunny hat. So I ended up getting the bear hat, even though it's the ugliest hat. All right, the first bookshelf on this bookshelf. First, let's talk about the decorations. You'll see there I have two little bears there. Those were gifts from my best friend Melissa. Shout out. And then I have a little Hogwarts castle that actually lights up. Shout out to whoever gifted me that. I'm pretty sure it was Jackie from work. Shout out. I have a little sake cup. I did not buy that in Japan. That was actually a gift. And it was just always as a reminder that one day I was going to go to Japan. So the fact that I went this year is crazy. And then we have that little toy thing that you buy at the gas station for like $5. The first book series from left to right. We have the Monstermologist series, which is my, I want to say arguably it's my favorite series of all time. The prose is beautiful. The characters are riveting. It's gothic horror. What I was expecting from Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. It was actually my first tattoo, which is on my wrist here, that says, "Yes, my dear child, monsters are real." I do need to get that retouched because at this point it's like just blurry messes. I absolutely love this series. It's dark, it's gritty, it's violent. It's full of blasphemy people saying blasphemy things, and just overall everybody's crazy, and the ones that are not are the ones that suffer the most. A lot of people were giving flack to the final book, saying that, oh, you know, the main character, he just turned evil for no reason. It's like, no, I think you were reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because this fucking series made it very clear from the beginning that the main character was going to turn evil. How many times did they mention that to work in that particular field, you needed to become a monster yourself? Like, hello? Eventually, Will Henry was getting the hang of it. Obviously, he was going to enjoy it. The whole time I read the whole series, I was just waiting for him to turn into an evil guy. And yeah, he didn't necessarily turn into an evil guy, but he definitely turned into a very bitter, resentful man that does not hesitate to kill people, even as a teenager. And then next we have a collection of Barnes & Noble classics, I believe they were called. The first one is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Other Classic Novels by Jules Verne. We have The Greatest Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Best Loved Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. Great Tales of Horror by H.P. Lovecraft. And The Complete Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm. Quick side note on H.P. Lovecraft. I did an annotated bibliography on him when I was still in college many, many years ago. I did not graduate, by the way. I'm like that one kid in Jimmy Neutron that just doesn't finish things he starts. I did an annotated bibliography on H.P. Lovecraft because I was like, I have his collection here, so why not? I had to delve deep into H.P. Lovecraft's life, and wow, that man was insane. At the end of the day, he was just not a good person, but at the same time, he was severely mentally ill. So, you know, it's kind of like, ooh, H.P. Lovecraft, geez, Louisiana. Next, we have Victoria Aveyard's Red Queen series or trilogy. I think it's a series. I think there might be one more book in this series. I'm not too sure. I've not read it. Everybody and their mom is on the fence about this particular series. Like, you know how there's YA tropes? Apparently, the series has all of them and relies on them heavily. And then we have Realm Breaker, also by Victoria Aveyard. It just seemed interesting. I like the premise. I like the premise of all these books, so I don't know. We'll see. When I get to my book review of these novels, we'll see what I think about them. Hopefully I like them. That's all I have to say on that. I have no opinion other than that because I've not read the books. Next on the shelves is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdoms. Oh, decorations. Jesus Christ. So I have a wax seal, a wax spoon thing to melt the wax beads. And then I have a little pouch full of like quartz and like rocks and minerals and stuff. At the very top there, Andy Andy. Project Hail Mary. He is the same author that wrote The Martian. I've never read The Martian. I'm not big on sci-fi. I'm more of a soft fantasy kind of guy. So Project Hail Mary was definitely something that I went out of my comfort zone for. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really, really good. I would have preferred if the ending was a little bit more tragic, but I'm glad there was overall a happy ending. You might not think it's a happy ending. I don't know. I don't know who you are, what you do, where your life is, and what your favorite snack is. Underneath that, we have Lee Bardugo's Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I'm reading those off because I was reading Six of Crows, and then I realized they mentioned Grisha and the whole Grisha verse thing, and I've not read any of those books because I have not been able to find them anywhere. Those books are in permanent limbo until I find the Grisha verse books and read those, because ain't no way I'm going to read things out of order again. And then we have The Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, which has nothing to do with the Grisha verse. I just haven't had a chance to read it. Next, we have The Darkest Part of the Forest, right? Part of the Forest by Holly Black. Again, my reference photo is a lot worse than what I'm probably showing you guys. Next, we have the Cassandra Clare section. Is it Cassandra or Cassandra? I don't know. We have the Miss Clare section with Mortal Instruments and then Infernal Devices. Quick little whatever. I bought the whole series. The only reason I bought Mortal Instruments was because I kept seeing them everywhere. Everybody and their mom kept recommending them to me. The movie was about to come out. I read City of Bones and I enjoyed it. And then I read City of Ashes and I thought it was a piece of shit. I hated City of Ashes. I hated City of Ashes so much that every time I try to pick up City of Glass, every single flaw from City of Ash is just staring at me in the fucking face and spitting. It's bad. It was bad. I'll try and reread the whole series just because I did recently try to pick up City of Glass again. I've been told City of Glass is where things really pick up. So I really want to get back into it because I think it is an interesting world and it is an interesting world building. I just can't stand some of the characters like Jace. Jace is the worst character in the history of characters. I cannot stand characters like that are just overprotective and annoying to the point where it's controlling and manipulative and they just throw tantrums. I cannot stand Jace as a character. I like the main character, Lady Girl, and I like her best friend, Simon. I was thoroughly enjoying the world building, but City of Ashes... Real quick, and this has irked me ever since it was revealed. It was revealed that Jace and the main character are actually related. Right? I'm sorry. It's so fucking frustrating reading, because I started recently reading City of Glass, but I got very annoyed again. Because what is the purpose of making them siblings? The reason I asked that is because, and no spoilers, please, because I literally don't know how this series is going to end, and I do actually want to finish reading it. But like, one of two things, all right? Homegirl is still talking about Jace as like, damn, if I wasn't related to him, I would eat that ass up, which is weird. Oh God, I said that a little too loud and I think somebody's outside my window. Uh-oh. So that's Homegirl in the first novel. Or I don't know, that's Homegirl. That's the main character. I forgot the main character's name. Sorry. I just remembered Jace because I hate him so much. Or two, it's so painfully obvious that they're not related and they're going to end up together. Considering the book covers for City of Fallen Angels, Lost Souls, and Heavenly Fire, they're all like wrapped up in each other's arms and kissing each other and shit. It might not be Jace and the girl. It might be some other people, but like the Nicholas Sparks like book covers are kind of giving it away that they're going to end up together in the end. I don't know. Maybe there might be different characters, that new characters that come out later. I don't know. Things like that don't make sense because if they're not related, this is just wasting everybody's time. If they are related, that's your brother. And you're still talking about licking his nipple, talking about drinking his lactation, if you will. Ew. You see where I'm coming from? Like, we know they're not related in reality, right? Again, don't spoil it for me. I'm eventually going to read the series and I will eventually post those reviews. So if you want to see those reviews, stick around, I guess. Subscribe. It's so dumb. Moving on.
We're moving on because I've already spent too much time, and I've only read 2 books in the series. I haven't even read Infernal Devices. We can skip this whole bookshelf. Not all of it, but we can go towards the end of it.
So the next book on this shelf is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I hate self-help books. I have to say that slow because otherwise it's like a tongue twister for me. However, I will very strongly recommend this one. The reason I hate self-help books they're very vague about their whole thing, whereas James Clear actually gets into details, and it's not even like anything crazy. He's much better at explaining. That's why he published the book. I would recommend that book, especially if you are in a place right now where you feel like your life is not going anywhere, if you feel like, you know, you're stuck. Kind of like when I was like having my quarter life crisis, this book would have definitely helped out a lot then. But honestly, it's a really good self-help. See, this is why I had to say it slow. He's writing it in such a way that it kind of shifts your perspective. You have control over your life more than you might think. Not implemented any of his techniques. Listen, all right? Are you listening? Good. Next book. We have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Remember earlier when I said it can just be dumb fun? It's this book. This is the book that I was referring to. This book was just dumb fun. There was no theme. There was like nothing to it. It was just good. It was just entertaining. It was fun. It was just a fun book to read. Shout out to that one scene though in the novel where they're all hanging out in the virtual like video game area or whatever. Oh my God, this was cringy. I have to say, Ernest, can we talk about this for a second? So there's this scene in this book. If you have not read the book, this isn't really much of a spoiler, so you can stick around. There's this scene in Ready Player One where they're all in like a virtual chat room thing. It's like a lounge area, but because it's like VR, like it's an actual lounge room. And so the main character's talking to like not really the bully, but like he's kind of like an outsider preppy guy, I think. That's kind of how they paint him to be. And the preppy guy is like, I know more about I forget names, y'all. I'm sorry. So they're discussing like clues and this and that. And the preppy guy says something wrong, and him and the main character start getting into an argument. And the main character is like, no, you're wrong because actually, and he doesn't act, he does one of those like, but actually things to prove the like bully character wrong. And everybody clapped. It was like, what? I thought that was pretty funny. It was a little cringy, but you know, it's a charming book. It's a good book and I would recommend it. Next, we have House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I don't know how to say your last name. I'm so sorry. I've not read it. I've heard it's good. Everybody keeps hyping it as the like scariest novel ever. Every time I get excited about reading that book, I always have to like ease back on the hype. That way I don't get too excited and then end up being disappointed. I'll read it one day. And when I do, I will be... Ow, my shin! I will be posting a review. Next one is Laura Dave's The Last Thing He Told Me, which is a mystery novel. I don't even know if I did a book review. Did I do a book review? I don't know. I cannot remember. This is right up there with House of Hollow, where it's like, I read it, I finished it. It was in the clearance bin for a reason. Shades of Grey is the last book on this shelf. This is by Jasper Ford. Everybody always makes the same fucking joke. So no, it's not 50 Shades of Grey because I did not say 50 Shades of Grey. I said Shades of Grey. If it was 50 Shades of Grey, do you know what I would have said? I would have said 50 Shades of Grey, but I didn't. So it's not that. It's Shades of Grey by Jasper Ford. You have no idea how many people I told that I was very excited that I was able to get Shades of Grey. And I get it. But after like the 10th joke, 50 Shades of Grey? I'm like, no. Bitch. Next bookshelf. Oh, by the way, I have not read 50 Shades of Grey. I've not read... I fucked up. I have not read Shades of Grey. I've also not read 50 Shades of Grey. That was on me. That was stupid. Ow! I hit myself hard with my phone. Next bookshelf, we have a little Harry Potter. That's supposed to be for soup. So that's like a little spoon that's in there. That hurt. I don't use it for soup. I just use it for decorations. It's completely empty. There's nothing inside of it. All Life Trilogy, which is a trilogy written by Miss Deborah Harkness. I have not read The Book of Life, which is the third book. I actually got Shadow of Night at Sam's Club because I read it was like about witches and stuff. And I was like, dope. The overall plot of the story is a witch is trying to get her hands on a manuscript thing, which is supposed to have like really powerful spells. I don't remember. It's been years since I've read these novels. I bought Shadow of Night, and then I realized it's actually the second book. And then I had to go and order A Discovery of Witches because no stores near me had the damn book. So I had to order Discovery of Witches. I read the book. I very much enjoyed it. It was my first adult novels. Basically, a witch falls in love with a vampire, and they both work to protect that manuscript from getting into the wrong hands. I don't know, something like that. This trilogy also made me realize that the only real difference between an adult novels and YA is the fact that adult novels have sex scenes in them. That's literally it. They're good. They're pretty good books. I would recommend for Miss Harkness to go into YA if possible, because at least for Discovery of Witches and Shadow of Night, again, I don't know about the Book of Life. I've not read it. But for those first two books in the trilogy, there's an action scene at the end of both of those books. The action scenes are really good. They're like too good for this particular style of books. So I personally think Miss Harkness has a knack for writing action scenes, and she should definitely consider writing maybe a YA that has a little bit more action in it, because honestly, they were dope action scenes. From what I remember, they stood out to me. So moving on. Next, we have Frank Herbert's Dune. I've not read it. I watched the first movie, like part 1. I've not seen part 2. Next, we have The Queen of the Tearling. I have not read this book. I remember when this book came out, there was like a big buzz around it. And one of the biggest like rumors was apparently the movie was already greenlit and Emma Watson was going to be the main character. Did I miss the release? Because as far as I know, that never happened. So I wanted to read it as soon as possible, and then I just never did because it was kind of boring. It's a very, very slow start. I cannot handle books like that have very slow starts. Again, this might make me a hypocrite considering my book might have a slow start. I'm still working on that, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. Oh, my fucking shin. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to yell. Next, we have The Eye of the World and The Great Hunt, the first two books in the Wheel of Time series by Mr. Robert Jordan. Rest in peace, Mr. Jordan. This is my first high fantasy series that I will read. Like I said, I'm more of a soft fantasy kind of guy. I like the mix between our world and fantasy. I do like fantasy worlds by themselves, but you know, I really enjoy the mix. This is very much high fantasy. This is the kind of fantasy where the characters have apostrophes in their names. So you know this is going to be some Lord of the Rings shit. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, I've never seen the movies nor have I read the books. I think I mentioned that in another video. I will get around to it. This is a variety channel. I do eventually want to react to the movies. Should I read the books first or should I just go straight into the movies? I've heard you can do either or, but I don't know. I've always been intimidated by this style of books, high fantasy and, you know, again, sci-fi like Dune and Project Hail Mary. So I've just never really bothered. But I do want to read The Wheel of Time and then eventually get into other high fantasy. You might see a little high fantasy. I don't know if it's even considered high fantasy. A Song of Ice and Fire. I guess technically if it is considered high fantasy, that's the first one that I've read. I don't know. Some people consider it. Some people don't consider it high fantasy. I just know they're good. As for The Eye of the World, I'm still reading it. But so far, I thought it was going to be slow. I thought it was going to be all talking and traveling and then talking and then traveling and then talking, and there was not going to be any action. No, there's a lot of action. It's really fun and I'm having a blast, and the characters I actually care about a lot. I don't know them that well, but I legitimately give a shit about these characters. So far I'm excited because there's like 15 novels or 14 in this whole Wheel of Time series. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to read it and see where the story goes and how it ends and what happens. Next, we have Throne of Glass. And yes, I will be doing book reviews on the Wheel of Time. Next, we have Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Is it Sarah J? I've always had Sarah J. Maas because of the two A's. But recently, I heard somebody call her Sarah J. Maas. So I'm just going to call her Sarah. Sarah. I read Throne of Glass, which I really liked. I read Crown of Midnight, which I enjoyed. Not as much as Throne of Glass, but still very much enjoyed. And then I bought Heir of Fire when it came out, and I never got a chance to read it. And then Queen of Shadows came out, and I bought it because I was like, okay, I want to have it ready for, when I finish Heir of Fire. And then Empire of Storms came out, and I was like, damn, Sarah, what the fuck? Like, chill. I haven't read Heir of Fire yet. And she was like, oh, you haven't? Well, here's Tower of Dawn. And I was like, girl, relax. I don't know what to do. And she was like, here's Kingdom of Ash. And I was like, okay, so now I'm super behind. Too deep. Because you refuse to slow down. And she has the Crescent City series or whatever. By the way, the Crescent City things are gorgeous. She also has A Court of Thorn and Bushes or whatever the fuck it's called.
I don't know what to do. Oh no. Oh, Sarah.
I've heard really bad things about that, so I don't know. I'm nervous. I've never really had a thing against Sarah. I personally really enjoyed what I've read so far, but a lot of people don't like her for some reason. I don't know. I find that mean. You should really separate the art from the artist. But I don't know. I will give my reviews of those books once I finish reading them and when I have time to edit the reviews. Next shelf. Oh, okay. So here, the only thing that I have as decoration is my Harry Potter 8-film DVD collection. Here we have A Song of Ice and Fire. The last book that I read was A Feast for Crows, which is the 4th book in the series. A Dance with Dragons had already been out for like a year or two, so I was a little bit late to the game. I finished A Feast for Crows, and I was like, okay, well, I know George from the past. He usually, like, it takes him a couple of years to write between novels. So I was like, I'm going to wait until Winds of Winter gets announced, and then I'll finish A Dance with Dragons. That way it's still fresh in my mind. But yeah, I have not read A Dance with Dragons because I was waiting on Winds of Winter. That was back in like, what, 2013, 14? 10 years ago. Ooh, still waiting on Winds of Winter to be announced so that I can read A Dance with Dragons 10 years later. So yeah. Moving on. By the way, really good series. Fantastic series. Really, really, really well written. Very well written. I don't know how George is able to keep track of all of these characters and who's dead and who isn't. And good job. Good job. Really, really well written series. And honestly, take your time, George. Don't listen to the people. I would much rather you take your time and deliver a good, high quality novel. I don't know if that helps. I don't know if that helps me saying that. That might sound even ruder. I don't want to sound rude. Honestly, my expectations, even when Winds of Winter does get announced, I know a lot of people are going to like mock me like, oh, he still thinks they're going to publish it. Yes, I do still think they're going to publish it one day. And then A Dream of Spring will come right afterwards. Next, we have Circe by Madeline Miller. She was the one that wrote Song of Achilles. I heard a lot of people say Circe was a lot better than the Song of Achilles. I actually don't know a lot about the mythology behind Circe, so I'm excited to read that one. Next, we have Here There Be Dragons. This is another library special. I never finished the series, but I did read these books when they were in the library. I think I left it off at a book called The Indigo King or something. Next, we have The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini, Aragon Eldest Freisinger, and Inheritance. I started reading Aragon, and it very much reads like an 18-year-old wrote it, and that's because an 18-year-old did write it. So kudos for Mr. Paolini. First of all, I'm almost 23. Shut up. You don't need to know my real age. I'm almost 17. I have not published a book, so kudos to you, Mr. Paolini, and it was a successful one from what I've heard. I did read it, and it did feel very much like a beginner writer. I say that. I say shit like that, and then I'm like, I'm writing my book, and it's also reading like a beginner novel. Yikes! I probably should shut the fuck up about that, huh? But anyway, very good. I like world building, and next. Let's move on. Last but not least, the final bookshelf. This one does not have any decorations because it's in a sad little corner just like next to my closet where no light hits. This is my Harry Potter collection. Love Harry Potter. Love everything having to do with the magical world. Hated the Fantastic Beasts series. He was a Dumbledore. maybe I shouldn't say all that. Yeah, let's. What the fuck happened to my hair? Beanie's off. It was very hot, and my hair is whatever. It does whatever it wants anyway. Who cares? Harry Potter series, very well written. Well, not very well written, but damn, is it a good story. What can I say about Harry Potter that hasn't been said already a million times by different people in much better words? I'm in the minority when I say that I'm excited for the remake series that HBO is making. I did get a little sad and nervous when I found out that one of the writers has actually never read the Harry Potter novels, allegedly. Then why are you a writer for the Harry Potter series if you've never read the book? And then apparently, like, he made a comment about, like, oh, think of all the creative possibilities. And it's like, with your own story, creative possibilities? You're not doing any creative possibilities with the Harry Potter series, right? You're not doing that. You're not taking creative liberties, right? You're only doing that with your own original stories, right? You're not attaching the Harry Potter name to it, right? Because there's 7 books right there that I'm looking at. Do your homework. You're being paid to be a fucking writer. Next, we have the trilogy. I think it's called The Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I cannot tell you, by Laini Taylor. I started reading this in my teen years, and then I pulled one of the. What was that character's name from Jimmy Neutron? Professor Calamitas? Main antagonist? He's the main antagonist? I don't remember that. I just remember Carl bringing a half-eaten donut, and then the teacher was like, oh, there was another student who never finished anything. Finbar Calamitas. He's a scientist that aims to take over the world, but is often held back from doing so by his inability to finish anything. That's me. That's 100% me. Science-related disorder. Okay, we're not reading that. The last thing I want to do is self-diagnose while I'm doing a bookshelf tour. Regardless, I started reading the book and then I didn't finish it, but I do want to eventually go back to that trilogy. I remember it was a big deal when it came out and everybody and their mom loved it. So I want to read it. The reason I stopped reading it was because I was finding it very stupid. Finally, we have the Fifth Wave trilogy by Rick Yancey. You already know I love Rick Yancey. The Fifth Wave came out, I read it, and I loved it. I thought it was so good. Everything. Rick Yancey's just such a good writer. Like, he's just such a good writer, and he's such a good storyteller. I've not read The Infinite Sea or The Last Star, so I need to get on that. And then finally, we have one of the bigger ones, which is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. We have The Book Thief by Marcus. I've yet to read this novel as well. I did start reading it, but I didn't finish. You got it. This one, I actually don't even know why I didn't finish it. A lot of times it's like I get busy or whatever, but this one, I have no excuse. I literally cannot say why I didn't finish it. Last but not least, I have books on a bookshelf over here. This is my donation pile. I will add some books from my bookshelf to the donation pile, and I'll let you know which ones they are as I'm doing reviews on them. These are books that I could not finish. They were so bad. Let me go ahead and... All right, so this might just be a voiceover, but the books that I have in my donation pile are The House by Christina Lauren, Trial by Fire by someone Angelini, the first book in the Relic Master series by somebody Fisher, the first 2 books in Witch and Wizard series by James Patterson, which is Witch and Wizard and The Gift, Riverkeep, Endgame, Riverkeep by Martin Stewart, and Endgame. So House, I just found really boring and not at all engaging like the quote at the front of the novel claims it is. We have Trial by Fire, which was very, very pretentious. It was also very much like trying to guilt me into being more eco-friendly, and it's like, oh, well, why do humans use plastic? And it's like, I don't know, but it destroys the planet. And it's very preachy, and like it talks down to you, and I hated it. It literally, I was so annoyed. I was like one of those people that got triggered by Artemis Fowl, thinking that it's like, yeah, but at least Artemis Fowl doesn't talk down to you like you're an idiot. You know, I'm not the one that poured millions of gallons into the Gulf of Mexico of oil, lady, chill. And then Dark City, I can't remember. That book was a gift and I just want to get rid of it. Witch and Wizard and The Gift from James Patterson. I remember the marketing for that particular series. I saw a commercial and the commercial said, "You don't have to wait for the next Harry Potter. Witch and Wizard is here." But like, of course I wouldn't have to wait for the next Harry Potter. The fucking finish, the fucking series had ended. What do you mean? It was bad. It was just very manipulative. World building was not great. Characters were not great. Writing was not great, you know. And I found that surprising considering James Patterson is like a master writer or whatever. I've never read any of his other books, but I did not like these. And then Riverkeep by Martin Stewart was super boring. Cannot tell you how many times I fell asleep while reading this novel. Did not finish, of course. I was not going to slog through it. And then last we have Endgame, The Calling. I lost interest. They were not very good books. I really don't care about them. That's my bookshelf tour. That's kind of how I think of books. I look at books. You basically already know what kind of tastes I have, kind of. I don't know. I've obviously read more books than this. These are just the books that I have on my bookshelf. Any questions? No? Awesome. Thanks. I think that's it. I'm about to lose my goddamn voice. I've been recording for 3 hours. So I think it's time for me to go because I've been wanting to take a piss for the longest time, but I didn't want to interrupt it. So let's go pee. Have a good day, guys. And there's no fucking way. I was going to say, have a good Halloween. Tomorrow's Halloween. There's no fucking way. Please like this video. Oh my God, this is so long. Have a wonderful day, guys. I'm gonna go shave my back. So anyway, have a wonderful day, guys. Enjoy whatever day it is. Always make it a good day. If you have the possibility to smile. Wait, what? What was that quote? If you have the ability to smile, don't waste your time frowning or something like that. I don't know. It's not that serious. Y'all have a good day. If I said something about a book that you liked, like something bad, then I'm sorry. Just know that it's like my opinion. Have a good day. I've said that like 5 times now. I have to go pee. Have I shown you guys this? I think I have. I have shown you before. I have shown you in my other video. But I have a feeling some of you are not subscribed. All right. Bye, y'all.